in the final part of the employee record sheet, what I want to do is set a flag here. I want to see I'll put a Y in this column if both the bank details and the yearly medical records have not been sent in by the employee, and both the bank details and the yearly medical records are after, or the target date has been passed. So we've got multiple conditions again, and we're going to do something very similar we did in the previous tutorial on conditional formatting, but in this case what we want to do is only set this flag, so we only want a Y appear there if both those things are true. What we're basically saying is that both of these are set to N, and for each one they've missed the target date. So there's a number of conditions, multiple conditions, that we need to take into account before setting this Y flag. The way to do this, I've set up, there may be a number of ways, but the way I'm doing it is I've set up a dummy table on the right hand side here. It's got the list of all the employees, it's got the column for bank details and yearly medical, and it's got a count. What we're going to do here is for each cell we're going to put an if statement, and we're going to go over and check whether the bank first of all for the bank details, whether it's set to N, and whether today's date is greater than this, in other words they've missed the target date. We're going to put a 1 in there. We're going to do the same for the yearly medical, and then what we're going to do is add those up, and basically if we've got a score of 2, in other words both the bank details and the yearly medical details have not been submitted by the target date, then we want to set the flag. So there's a number of steps. Let's start off with the first one, which is to put in the if statement to put a 1 in this cell if the bank details have not been submitted and they have not been submitted by the target date. So I'm going to use standard if function again that we've used on a number of different occasions, but this time what I'm going to do, because I want multiple conditions for the if statement, I'm going to use this AND function again. You can do this using what's called a nested if statement, an if statement between another, but Excel 2007-2010 we've got this AND function which I think makes it easier. So I put in the AND function, and now I need to put in the first condition. Well, the first condition is check this cell here. Sorry, I've done it wrong. First condition is to say, are we past the target date? So we're going to look at, is today's date greater than the target date? Well, the target date for the bank details is up here. Okay. Before I go any further, I want to make that absolute, because I'm going to copy this function down. So putting F4 in the middle, I'm going to put the dollar signs in. My second condition is okay, so we've missed the target date, but is the value in the cell equal to N? In other words, it has not been submitted. Okay, now based on both of those, so if the target date's been missed and there's a N in here, that means the details have been submitted, then what we want to do is put a 1 in the cell where we've got the if statement, and if not, we just leave it blank. Okay, so you can see that we've got a 1 against Jimmy Buffett, and that's because the bank details have not been submitted because it's set to N, and also I'm running this on the 3rd of the 1st, so we've missed the target date, so that's quite correct. Now we want to copy this function down, so it's a straight drag autofill, and you can see the flag has been set correctly to match. So let's look at the one that's blank. Eric Cartman, well, he has submitted the bank details, so that's why that's blank there, but the others have all got a 1 in. Let's do the same for the yearly medical. In fact, what we can do is we'll take the if statement from that one and just amend it, because all we need to do is change the date, the target date. So instead of checking the bank details, the target date is the yearly medical. Again, make the reference absolute because we want to copy this, and E4's already been changed for us, so it's checking the correct cell there. Everything else looks okay. Let's drag it down. Okay, they're correctly set, so we've got the flag set. Now we only, so where it's got a 1, that means basically that something hasn't been submitted and the target date's been missed. But that isn't, on their own, that isn't enough reason to send a letter. The criteria is we send a letter, or the company sends a letter to the employee, if both the bank details and the yearly medical details have not been submitted by the target dates. So what I'm going to do there is just put, I could put a number of ways of doing it. I'm going to use count as a function, and what count does, let's just find it, what the count function does is just checks to see if the cell's got a new number in there, and if it has, it just adds it up. So as you can see there, we've got both cells have got 1 in there, so both cells have got a number, so there's 2 cells with a number, it gives us 2, and where there isn't a 1 set, it gives us 0. So now all we need to do is check this cell here, and if the value in that cell is greater than 1, i.e. it's 2, we want to set the flag. So now we just put a simple if statement, because we want to set the flag over here. This is where we want to set it, but we need an if statement to do that. So we're going to do function again, if, and this is straightforward if statement, if the value in that cell there is greater than 1, i.e. it's 2, then we want to put a y into this cell. If not, we leave it blank. Okay, the first one's correctly set, so drag it down, and that's it. So now we have a function, or series of functions, which correctly set a y in there to say the company should send a letter to this employee because both bank details and yearly medical haven't been submitted by the target date.